Discover exciting places to visit. Explore your community. Learn about new cultures. Meet fascinating people. Find the exotic. There are hidden treasures wherever you go. Travel, learn, take a day trip in your city, or hike in a rainforest. There's so much to see and share. What are you waiting for? Go on a journey. Welcome to On a Journey. I'm Paul Prado. Make sure to check out each video that goes with our podcast on our YouTube channel, Paul Prado Photography on a Journey. Welcome back to part 2 of our discussion and our walk with Redlands historian Tom Atchley as we discover great and exciting things about Highland Point and the Butler Belt. You shared with us about this wall on the other side of the wall. Tell me about it.
Yeah, this is the Henry Fisher wall that goes from West Highland down San Mateo to his driveway for his carriage barn. So it gives you an idea that this estate was about 5 acres in size because the wall covers quite a distance. So it's not ashlar cut, but it's the granite with one face on it, and then of course the seams with the concrete coming out to give it kind of a facial feature.
Yeah, what do you call that when embossed, or no, when the raised letters? It's nice. This original structure?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is entire original structure from the Fisher home that goes all the way down Highland, well, a good chunk.
Goes down San Mateo.
All of San Mateo. Then on this side is Highland.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
So this is 1897.
1897.
Yeah.
We're at the home of Leon Benson, and Tom was just telling me as we were walking down this shaded passageway with olive trees and fir trees that Benson was responsible. He was a nurseryman, like an arborist or someone that does lots of landscaping and mixing of plants and stuff like that. And he decorated this entire area with the foliage that we enjoy today in 2017. And how long ago was this?
He started in 1888.
So 1888, and here you really literally get to see the fruits of his labor in the trees and the bushes and the flowers that adorn this entire area. Highland Point.
Highland Point, the Cedar and Highland reach a point right at this lot. So in 1888, Leon Benson hired Davis Donald and R.C. Cunningham, 2 builders in Redlands, to put together his house for the amazing price of $3,300.
So here we had a house for $15,000, $6,000, and now we're going down to $3,000. So
Yeah.
These homes at that time, I'm sure $3,000 is the equivalent of millions today. And here it is.
That would include the carriage barn. So you have the circular passageway that goes to the carriage barn, a porte cochere that's not as fancy as the Italianate house that we saw, or what Henry Fisher had.
But
or
it
what
looks
John
practical.
Fisher. Absolutely.
It's got a platform on the porte cochere.
And it's not like it rains a lot in Redlands. But at least when you hop out of your carriage, you don't get wet, and you're out of the sun. And the horses that are waiting for you to come out are also out of the sun.
So those of you that love horses, your horses didn't have to bake in the hot sun under the porte cochere. It's sort of a level platform with the white railing and red trim. It's just a beautiful home. These are all beautiful homes that we're seeing today.
So the balustrade on the first story and second story is a wraparound. So in the afternoon on a sunny day, and the sun hits the west side of the house, you escape to the east side of the house and you get into the shade. So you can live outside your house a whole lot more. And then of course it has brackets around the eaves. The brackets are a kind of a, well, you know, why do women wear earrings? Why do women have lipstick? Why do men wear a tie? They're affectations of the time period.
Affectations.
They are fad kinds of things. But those brackets aren't holding up anything. And if you go to Kimberly Crest, there's even more brackets, and they're not holding up anything either. And they're painted different colors, so you can really you know, look at a house like this and say, look at me, I've made it. And of course, as an interior decorator, this 1888 house is one of the first houses on Highland Avenue. There's one that's 1887, and a very simple teacher's house down on near Center Street that's even smaller, a whole lot smaller than all the houses up here at Highland Point. But fish scale shingles, shiplap siding.
So I don't know if you could zoom in up there on the fish scale shingles. See those up there? They're kind of like a butterscotch color. So here Tom's telling us about the affectations of these homes, the railings, the ornateness around the pillars.
Each side of the gable upstairs, the dormer, is sunburst. See the red sunburst?
So there's sunbursts up there as well.
And then there's a spike coming down inside the gable. That's called a pendant.
A pendant. So a spike down the gable is a pendant.
Most of the pendant is gone. It had other pieces coming off that have weathered and not been replaced.
So now, is this a historical house? Or?
This is a heritage home.
A heritage home.
That was awarded by the Historical Society some time ago for the
So does that mean, do they have to, they can't
home,
change it, or they can't?
No, it's a, attaboy, you're doing a good job. You got a 75-year-old house or older. The exterior looks great. The landscaping looks good within the time period.
Okay.
And our heritage homes don't carry any kind of laborious or legal definitions to them at all. Now, if you're on the historic register for Redlands, then the house is then protected in terms of tearing it down or doing any major modifications without getting the approval of the Historic and Scenic Preservation.
So those of you that are listening or watching, I just learned something. I'm learning something all the time. If it's on the historic register or if it's a heritage home, those are two totally different indications of a house. As Tom just said, you could change it, modify it, as long as you basically keep it looking as a piece of the time, where if it was on the historic register, you couldn't modify it. We have many bridges.
Well, you could, the whole interior. You don't want to be living in an 1888 bathroom.
Sure. It's outside.
With a Thomas, with a Thomas Crapper that you pull the chain and 10 gallons of water flush it. No, you don't.
Water conservation.
Yeah, and most of these houses didn't have interior plumbing.
Right.
This house was built had no electricity because we don't have electricity in Redlands until 1893.
1893 was the first time Redlands has electricity. And here we enjoy the comforts of the air conditioning that I'm hearing blazing up there, swamp coolers, fans, and other accoutrements that we enjoy in 2017. So imagine this area, buggy, carriage, horseback, electric car, and no AC. Good night.
You can really tell the older homes in Redlands because they'll have, if they are fairly wealthy, they have ashlar cut stone.
Ashlar cut stone.
And then they have a monumental pediment across the top. And to do this, they have no electricity. You pound away with it with a hammer and a chisel on granite until you get a square shape for the top and at least 2 flat surfaces on the rectangles on the rest of the rock.
So imagine that, diamond tip saw. Slice this evenly. Look at this. Look at this rough cut.
Yeah.
This is how you want it. This is what you would call organic construction. So ashlar cut stone. And we have another one over here. So the entryway has 2. So we off to another one?
Yeah, we're going to the Bernard house.
Here we are. Got a sago palm, almost 200 years old. Criminy. And it looks pretty good for almost 200 years old. It's a gardener's dream or landscaper's dream, he just said. He said they take their time growing, and here it is, another robust plant that's able to thrive here in the Inland Empire heat. Let's go check out the next house. Here we are coming across the street to the Thomas Bernard home, and it's got an extra special significance right now, and that is that it's celebrating
It's 125th year since it's built in 1891.
There's a sign right here to indicate. It's got a little
And it's a heritage
marker.
home. You can see the plaque on the left side of the front door. It's got a dental course. It looks like teeth going across the front of the front door.
So it's got a dental course across the front door.
Bernard
To
owned
the left, a little at a diagonal, top left, the diagonal of the doorknob, there's a historic plaque indicating that it's a
heritage home.
heritage home again.
There are about 360 heritage homes that the Historical Society has designated, and this coming September, you will be able to go to the App Store and for free grab our Heritage Home app, pull in front of any house with an address. If it's a heritage home, punch in the address, and the whole history of the house comes up right on the telephone.
How many homes?
360.
360 homes.
Hopefully this
Heritage
will put me out of
homes.
business.
And then this is what app is this?
It's going to be, we haven't got the name for it yet, but it's going to be the Heritage Home app for the Historical Society.
Heritage Home app for the Historical Society in Redlands here. And if you can't hear, or if there's like too much wind here, he said you're going to be able to drive in front of these 300 plus homes with the app, push the button, and bam, bingo, you have the history of that home in the comfort of your car, or if you're standing here underneath the shade of these trees.
Yeah.
So what else is significant about this house?
Well, this house cost $5,000.
Holy Toledo, $15,000, $6,000, $3,000, $5,000. What can you buy for that? Not even the bushes.
It's called pingboard siding, as it overlaps between the first story and the second story.
Pingboard siding, and then you said the teeth. What did you call that? Dental?
Dental course across the front door.
Dental course, so it looks like jagged teeth or teeth that go like that.
Plain Doric columns and a wraparound porch. And then, of course, the carriage barn matches the house architecturally.
So if you want to just come on over here, if you can walk it right here, you could get a good shot of the carriage house, or at least a stairway going up to the carriage house there.
Yeah. And then the wraparound
There you
porch.
go.
Another old sago palm.
So Tom's talking about these wraparound porches because remember, we don't have AC. You can enjoy one side of the house during the heat of the day, and as the heat changes, you go to the other side of the house and still remain relatively cool.
And this house still has what was a screened-in sleeping porch, so you'd sleep outside.
So up top
porch.
top deck here, it's no longer screened, but it's a sleeping porch.
Right. And that would have been screened. So many of our early screened porches have been built into now because we have air conditioning and stuff.
Right.
But
so it has this little, like a little porch here. Was that one time you could walk to it, or is that just affectation
that's
again?
just once again affectation. Called, it's a mother-in-law porch, so you can get her out the window and push her off the side.
So I don't know if you can see that, Ned, but we just now learned about the mother-in-law porch.
But if
it's another affectation that we saw
if this was
with other homes.
If this was an expensive home, the bay window, instead of being angular, would be perfectly round.
Okay.
But then that would give the house a Queen Anne effect. When you're rounding wood, that's more of a Queen Anne.
Okay.
So this is more of a classic box. And you're going to see this type of architecture more on West Olive Avenue. There's only a few type like this. This is ahead of its time in 1891.
1891, and
So
this structure looks really, really as beautiful as it did back then, now in 2017.
The second owner in 1894 is C.W. Cartledge. He's the vice president of the Redlands Street Railroad Company.
Okay.
And of course, later on, a famous artist from Redlands who graduated from Redlands High School, Warden Bethel, lived here. And Warden Bethel painted all kinds of pictures of Mount San Jacinto and the desert area of San Gorgonio Pass. And the library, A.K. Smiley Library, has quite a collection of Bethel paintings and stuff.
So here we're learning about Bethel, a local artist who depicted the area, the landscape, the scenery in his art, and his work can be found in the Smiley
Library.
Yeah, so take a look.
And once we get a museum operational, that I'm sure we'll have just an art gallery of just kinds of local artists of things painted and created by local artisans here in Redlands.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Because there's a lot of good now with photography and digital photography.
This
You
house,
have some of the photographers getting some really good landscape shots.
this house has the unique geographic location of ending up in a lot of photographs. Canyon Crest Park was up here, and photographs were taken from Canyon Crest Park looking down, and everybody wanted to get a picture of the Fisher's mansion, and from the tower of the Fisher's mansion they took pictures looking the other way, and in every one of those photos this house shows up. Because
So
it's
this sort of-
1891, it's
So it's
really
sort
early.
of serendipitous that this house is planted right here, that you're in that location shooting in this direction, or you're at the Fisher house shooting in that direction, and you happen to be the proud owner of this home, and you're like, I'm part of the scene.
Then the other thing they did is climb the tower of the Hornby house, which was here on Crown and West Highland, and it had a tall tower, and they took photographs from there. And
So I don't know if
again,
you heard that because the motorcycle, but he said there was a home there. Whose home?
the Hornby house.
The Hornby house had a tower, so I'm assuming it was quite tall.
Yeah,
And from that vantage point, you could get pictures
yeah,
of.
of Redlands, especially the West Redlands area, looking at the original residence tract. And you're high enough above the orange trees, you're seeing above the orange trees.
Oh,
The only
nice.
things sticking up are the Victorian homes.
Oh, nice.
So,
Which a lot of our groves are just
yeah.
slowly disappearing.
Okay, we're off to the Dwight Lefferts home.
Dwight Leffert, let's go. Dwight Leffert household in 1910. Here we have a nice columns at the front door. Again, we have these structures. What did we call these, sir?
Pediments.
Pediments.
This doesn't have the crown.
Doesn't have the crown pediment, but you could still see the roughness of the cut. Remember, no AC. So tell me more about this home.
So this is a Georgian villa. Cost $18,000 in
So now we're back
1910.
up. We went from 15 to 6 to 3 to 5. Now we're coming back up to $18,000. Right
So-
now, I don't think it's $18,000.
Yeah.
Maybe the door.
No. Maybe the door.
Maybe the door.
It's got what they call Black Widow black paint on the shutters and the doorway. And
So if you see the
anytime-
shutters, it's Black Widow, black paint.
Yeah. Anytime you see black on the front door, it's an expensive home. It's a way for the architect to say, "Look at me, I'm rich."
So if you've noticed when we talking with Tom here, we've talked about the structures, we've talked about the nurserymen, the planting of the trees, the shrubbery, the different gardens that we're seeing in the last 4 or 5 homes that we have visited. And then we learned midway of the affectations that the different residents adorn their homes, so that, like he said, when people walk by, they're like, check me out, I've made it. So now we're at our last home on this awesome tour of Highland Point, and he says with the Black Widow paint on the door, it shows the architect. It's like, see, this is a really, really cool, expensive home.
Yeah. So with the Corinthian columns out front, and crowning on the top of the Corinthian columns, you have ironwork, which are lights to guide you to the house entrance.
So if you can, I don't know if you can zoom in on that. You have the ironwork on top of the columns, and again, we didn't have AC, so back in the day, this told you that this is the entrance of the home.
Yeah. And the wrought iron lamps really light up really bright. And there's wrought iron molds on the gateway door that used to be here. And Lefferts came to Redlands in 1900, and he had a little money when he arrived. And shortly he became the president of the Redlands Orange Growers Association. And that packing house still stands on 5th Street. It's the oldest packing house in Redlands. And they developed the Rose brand
Yes.
in 1893, and the Rose brand is the oldest in existence.
So Rose brand oranges, the packing house, is the oldest brand in the citrus industry, and it's on 5th Street. Is there a cross street?
No, it's the railroad tracks.
It's the railroad
It's
tracks.
the Mitten Building.
Oh yes, the Mitten Building.
The Mitten Building.
So there you go.
If
you are a local in Redlands or Inland Empire and you know this area, the Mitten Building is where that packing house is. Highland, San Bernardino, Redlands, Riverside, we have many remnants of the camps for the braceros and the packing houses and the different structures that supported the industry. And here we have the Rose brand, the home of the originator of the whole Rose brand.
Yeah. So the house has some Greek Revival features. There in the second story you can see a return gable. That's where the gable comes down and then starts to come back but doesn't come the whole way. And in the center, what is the vent, is a keystone. Above the doorway, some of the windows are keystones. And once again, that's Greek Revival architecture. And then the brackets inside the gable are all flat, and they're about 8 or 9 inches long, separated with other brackets about 8 or 9 inches, which is really unusual because usually brackets are a little bit thicker and they look like protruding rafters, but these are flat. And so once again, this house screams out, you know, this is a person of wealth that lives in this house. The long driveway, the Georgian villa style was very popular in the southern part of the United States. The only difference would be, instead of orange trees, this would be cotton fields, and we'd have slaves in the backyard working.
No slaves here.
No slaves.
No cotton here.
Nope.
We have beautiful citrus products here. Georgian style home.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's a area filled with citrus trees. We have flowers growing right here. Tom just talked about the long entryway, which signified wealth and importance. You have to come a ways to get to the threshold of my home.
Yeah, so it's not an ordinary building lot. It's several lots, probably 3 or 4 acres of land just for the house. And to sum it up, I mean, the lavish style that you see with the gardens, with the small hedges and the roses, they're all white roses on both sides of the entryway, and then the once again, hedges that are adorning the front of the house really makes the house pop out.
Right.
If this was in the south, you would have probably weeping willows growing on the side and more of the southern kind of plantings and stuff. I'm surprised that no large tree was ever planted on either side of the house.
They didn't want it to be obstructed.
They didn't want to be
They didn't want that view to be
yeah.
obstructed, so that when you come down this long entryway, you're going to see my home, the home.
And there we end.
So here we conclude a great tour of some of the historic homes of the heritage houses in Redlands, California. I'd like to thank Tom again.
Welcome.
Here we are. Hopefully we'll get another tour of another great spot in Redlands, California. If you're watching us in Europe or China or Canada, or you're listening to our podcast, come and visit us here in SoCal, as we call it, Southern California. And this is the Greater Inland Empire. Is there any reason why it's called the Greater Inland Empire?
A disc jockey came up with that name because people got tired of saying San Bernardino is 60 miles east of Los Angeles. It's easier to say the Inland Empire.
But the Greater Inland Empire right here.
That's true.
So that moniker, if you've ever heard it, the Inland Empire or Greater, here it was coined by a disc jockey. If you don't know what a disc jockey is, we used to play records. We don't push the button anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm Paul Prado Photography on a Journey. Check out our adventures, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and get yourself out on a journey.